You say that only 33% of African-American single women and 28% of Hispanic single women are homeowners compared to 57% of single white women. To what degree do you sense that the mortgage crisis and the homeownership crisis that the country has been going through has exacerbated this alarming statistic in itself?
Well, the subprime home mortgage crisis has really hit women of color disproportionately hard. They were targeted for subprime loans, and a study by the National Council of Negro Women found that women of color were between 1.5 and 2.5 times more likely to receive subprime home loans, even when you control for income. In fact, the disparities actually increased when income increased. Now, very sadly, many of these women of color who received subprime home loans could have qualified for conventional loans. And the study revealed that the cost to the borrower over the lifetime of these loans will cost them additional $50,000 to $100,000. So this is money that's not going into their home equity, money that's not going into their retirement savings. And as a result, they were left incredibly financially vulnerable. And now you see that playing out in the foreclosure crisis as well.
I want to turn to the voices of some single mothers here in New York talking about working and wealth.
My name is Marcy Shannon, and I'm living right here in Manhattan, Harlem, Manhattan. Now, one of the big issues that we're having is with, single parents. We tend to be the breadwinner for children, and a lot of time what is happening now is that because we have to spend so much time with our kids, because first of all, it's hard to get a job, and with this recession, it's even more difficult. And having kids and having no father around to basically help out with our kids, then you find that sometimes we have to stay home. We can't take the jobs that may be presented to us. Sometimes we are not even that educated, to get suitable jobs. Now think about saving. We can't even have a bank account because the bills, think of rent, especially here in Manhattan. You're looking at a one bedroom apartment, even a studio, for $1,400. Think of how much you get for pay after taxes taken out. Sometimes you may be taking home $300 a week. What can that do? You have to think about food. So there's no money that you could, what you call that discretionary income. You can't put any money in the bank. And if you even do put any money in the bank, you end up going back the next day to use it, maybe end up in overdraft, which becomes another issue. So it's extremely difficult for single parents.
My name is Jennifer Fernandez. I live in the Bronx. It's very difficult. I'm a single mom working a full-time job, and it's very hard to basically take care of my 2 kids on my own. Can't really spend time with them. I can't hardly sometimes pay the bills. It's so hard when you're on your own. It's very hard because I can't really save. Not on a minimum job, no. Month to month is very hard. Babysitting money, the rent, the light, food, that's basically it.
My name is Mary Dye, and I live in Harlem. I find that it's extremely difficult to try to raise children here in Harlem at this time, this day and time. It's awfully hard with the economy going bad and everyone's losing their jobs. Fortunately, I haven't lost my job at this time. But to make ends meet, it's just pretty much, it's a little difficult. Hopefully I don't run into any circumstances where I'll be set back in debt, and hopefully that the economy will get better and there'll be more chances and opportunities for minority women. Accumulating wealth is a bit hard at this time. Affordable housing really isn't affordable housing. Everything is going up. Hopefully I won't have to pay for a MetroCard for my daughter to go to school next year.
The voices of single mothers, working mothers in Harlem. I'd like to ask you, Nicole, about the stimulus plan. The Obama stimulus was supposed to create millions of new jobs and to stem the economic crisis in the country. How has it affected African Americans and Latinos across the country?
Well, I think it's safe to say that we really don't know, but what we can conjecture is that because of the unemployment rate continues to go up in those communities, that the stimulus monies has not had the impact that the administration would have hoped. And because of the targeted industries targeted in the stimulus bill, and we know the underrepresentation of blacks and Latinos in those occupations, it's going to be really hard to reach blacks and Latinos in terms of job creation and making sure that they get jobs. And when we look at the number of contractors, number of contracts that went to African American and Latinos, we see that less than 5% of contracts went to those communities. So we can again conjecture that the dollars are not reaching those communities in real ways.
We just have 30 seconds, but recommendations.
Well, I think first and foremost, the administration needs to start to think about targeted support to Black and Latino communities, or communities that are disproportionately impacted by by unemployment, and also start to make corrections for this. The wealth gap is something that didn't happen overnight. It took years and years to create, and so we really have to start thinking about policies and opportunities for us to begin to rethink what it means to be living and working.
And Mariko Lynn Chang, following up on what Nicole just said, that issue of the wealth gap coming from past inequities.
That is absolutely correct, because one of the reasons why the wealth gap is so difficult to eradicate is because wealth is transferred from generation to generation. And so we see those effects of prior policies that prevented many people of color from building wealth to the same extent are still being felt today. But there is an important point that I want to make sure that the listeners understand, and that is that when we think about jobs, we need to think not just about income, but about access to what I've termed the wealth escalator. And one of its important components are the fringe benefits that come with jobs that do let people translate their income into wealth more effectively. Those things like paid sick days, job-related health insurance, or retirement benefits. Those are things that women, and women of color in particular, are least likely to have in the types of jobs that they hold. Women of color and women are much more likely to work in service occupations, and those jobs are the least likely to come with those benefits. So as we heard from the women on the street, there's much more to wealth creation than simply income. And in fact, even if men and women had the same incomes, if nothing else changed, there would still be a wealth gap for women and a wealth gap for women of color, because they lack access to the wealth escalator, the fringe benefits and the government benefits that are already helping other people build wealth, and because they're more likely to be single parents. And as custodial parents, they bear a disproportionate financial burden of the cost of parenthood, and they have less disposable income to save and invest. So we really need to look beyond income to think about wealth if we're really going to improve the lives of women and women of color.
Mariko Lynn Chang, we want to thank you for being with us. The report for Insight is called Lifting as We Climb, Women of Color, Wealth, and America's Future. And thank you, Nicole Mason, Executive Director of the Women of Color Policy Network at New York University.